Hello everyone, it's Julia with Senior Susie Stamps. I'm glad you're here with me today. I wanted to make some Christmas cards out of this Wise Men Still Seek Him paper from Echo Park. I'm sorry, this is no longer available. I've searched everywhere I know to search, but maybe you'll have some in your stash or you'll have some paper that's very similar to it. On these 6x6 pads from Echo Park, they have 24 double-sided papers, and so there are 4 of 6 different papers, and let's just look at those for a quick minute here, because I think these are really beautiful papers, and Echo Park has a really nice weight to it to use, and you can tell that a lot of these are just general overall patterns that you could use for whatever you wanted to use them. But I think I've got some pretty nice cards planned out today. Now what I did with this page here, I got a little circle punch and punched out some circles, and then I punched out some scallops from, let me see, where is it? From this page. And I backed the little circles onto the scallop and made just a little piece of ephemera for these cards. This one happens to have some foam tape on the back of it, and some of them I put the foam between the layers, and for example on this card I put some packing tape on top of that little piece of ephemera before I punched it, so just for something different to look at. But so I have enough cards planned. I don't remember, I didn't count them, but I believe I've got 10 or 12 here. I've got 4 to show you right now. I did notice that this year they have some other religious themed Christmas paper at Echo Park, so if you're looking for something like that, you might check it out. I do like these little 6x6 pads personally better than the 12x12s because I can use them more effectively, and I did use of those papers every single scrap of it making these cards. So let's get started. I have the inside pages. This is a little textured paper, and I had a bunch of it that one of the office supply places didn't cut right, so I had to go back and cut, and this is the 3rd layer down, so it's 3 3/4 by 5, and I've gone ahead and stamped them with this stamp set, Christmas Greetings. It's an old Stampin' Up set, and I just got that done for us to go on the inside of all these cards. So let's look at this one again right quick. One thing I know, that when you are trying to use up paper, and of course a lot of us have scraps, and one thing you have to do is think outside of the box when you are using your scraps and change your card base size every once in a while to utilize those scraps. This one has some Love from Lizzie peel-offs and a little punch star and a little gem. This, don't remember where that came from, to be perfectly honest with you. And then on the inside, and you'll notice that I put a little bit of scoring work on the front of the card, and then I mounted my Love from Lizzie peel-off right between those 2 score lines, and that gave me a really nice straight accent line with this one. Now here's another one, and this is just a piece of the designer paper backed on another piece of paper, one of the cut apart sentiments, another one of my little ephemera pieces, and 3 gems in the inside. I did put a little corner treatment on this, but other than that, nothing special. This one has a black layer, and the cut apart, a little extra strip that actually was the one that had the hole punch in it from the branding strip up at the top where they glued it into the pack, and that's a good way to use those. Another one of those little 2x2s, and I just put a little tiny narrow piece behind. This is just a little ticket punch shape out of a piece of leftover scrap, and it just helps fill this card and the inside. Now here's a 4th one. Oh, and I got a new gold pen. Let me show you that. These are Jelly Rolls, and it's a gold metallic pen. Ooh, they're nice. I'll put a link to those down below. They came in a 6-pack, so I gave some of mine away to some friends. I went on a retreat recently, and I gave some of them away because I didn't want them to dry up in my stash. But those are really nice gold pens if you're looking for one for this holiday season. So, Wise Men Still Seek Him came directly out of one of those pages. Let me show you. Right here. Wise Men Still Seek Him, and I just cut it apart so that it would fit on this very simple little card. I drew my star and put one of these little gems in it, and the card's done. So let's get started on these. And it's been 3 weeks since I worked on these, so you may have to bear with me just a tiny little bit, but I think we'll be good on these. I'm going to go ahead and glue my little insert in and get that part of it done. I'm using my Books by Hand PVA glue again today. I need my tweezers. You know, my brain doesn't work without them. So here we are. And I'm just going to do as equal a border as I can, top and bottom and side to side. And there we go. And so I had these leftover little squares, and I thought they would work well, just ganged up in the middle there like that. And that was the middle piece. I need to pay attention to what I'm doing, don't I? All right, here we go. So there's one, and then I'm going to do the opposite side, and then I'm just going to lay my middle down right on top of the middle of this and put my elevated little embellishment on the top of that. So there we go. And then I'm going to put a little more glue on this one since that's dried up. Make sure my script is going the right way up. That's always helpful. And there we are. Peel my little foam tape. And I'm going to put that in the middle, right here. And then I'm going to punch a nice star, and I'm going to use this little punch. It is an EK Success punch for this one. Put a little glue on that, and we'll call this card nearly finished. I do think I might put a few little gems on this. Maybe 3, randomly spaced on the card. And here it is. And because I have my Merry Christmas and the inside sentiment all on the inside, I don't feel a bit bad leaving that card just as it is. I do think it might be nice to put a little bit of that Love from Lizzie peel off on that. Let me get a piece. On that other card, I used this, it's kind of a bronzy, coppery color, and I think we'll use that again on this card also. And I'm going to try just putting that on the lower side here and see how that looks. Maybe we'll get by with just one strip on this card. I don't know. We'll see. And I kind of like to take the end of my little tweezers there and push that in up against those little papers that are there, and that gives you a good adherence on these Love from Lizzie peel-offs. So, okay, I'm going to trim this off. And because these little Love from Lizzie peel-offs are so expensive here in the United States, I go ahead and save every little tiny bit of scrap I possibly can from them. And I might go ahead and add some back here on the top, but I'm going to let that sit for a little while and just think about it. Let's move on to the next card and see what we've got. I'll get this out of the way. The little town of Bethlehem. And here again, these are just some scrap pieces that I'm going to use. And on this one, I'm just going to go ahead and glue this down. There's nothing special about these cards, but I just wanted to utilize everything I possibly could to make these cards a special little gift for a friend of mine. And you can see I've even left a little rough edge from the tear off here. I think that needs to go up just a little bit, don't you? There we go. There's that, and then I'm going to put this piece on, and it's just barely long enough, so I better pay attention to what I'm doing here. And I'm going to go ahead and put a little line of glue on the card base itself. There we go. And then I'll take my tweezers and just wedge this down right next to that other piece of scrap. And we'll trim this off in just a minute. I'm going to go ahead and glue my cut apart down onto some gold paper. If you hear snoring going on, that's Lucy. She's over taking a little siesta in her bed up here in the studio with me today. And she's snoring, snoring, snoring. So here we go. Not much is going to need to be done to this card, I don't think. Except maybe add some stars and gems to it. I could have elevated this up on some foam, but honestly I don't think it needs it. I'm going to trim this off to make a nice smooth edge. And put my sentiment on the inside while the front's drying, and then I'll come back and put my gems on. And I think I'll do a nice big star up here, and perhaps, well, let's see, I've got one there. I could use that. It's awfully small. I think I'll add one. And I'm going to use my ruler to start that today. And I'm going to put it down here, and I hope you can still see that in the camera. If you can't, I'll be back in just a second. No worries. So there's my starting point. And then I'll need a little cross there. So that's the start of our little star. And then I'm just going to make an X in it. There it is. And I'm going to put one of my little gems right in the center as soon as that ink dries. It does take just a second for this gold pen to dry, but boy, it sure is nice and smooth going on. There's my little tiny dot of glue. These little gems that I poured out into this tray are quite small. I think they're 2mm gold gems. And I've had them for quite a while. Honestly, I don't remember where I got them. A little town of Bethlehem, and that's a very simple, straightforward card utilizing scraps, and it makes a nice little addition to that gift set. Now this one is going to have a gold back to it. I'm going to go ahead and get that put down right away, and we'll build this card. I like this gold paper, and if I didn't have so much of it, trust me, I would be punching things out of it underneath where you wouldn't notice that they were there and missing. But joy to the world, the Lord has come, and we're going to put this strip kind of about right there, I think, and maybe this one, and then we'll kind of do, let's see how this is going to work. Joy to the world, the Lord is come. And I think I'll put this one over on this side then. Okay, here we go. Here we go. I'll put this one down first. I always try to put just a little extra glue when I'm gluing metallic paper down or when I'm gluing to metallic paper. Now on this, I'm going to go ahead and use my grid lines so that I can get my strip that's going across as straight as possible. And I think right about here will work. Just getting those straight across as I can. And then I'm going to put this up next. And then we'll do the sentiment and my little embellishment that I made. I think that's about right. That's pretty much in the middle of that card, top to bottom and right to left. And then the joy to the world, the Lord is come. Such an easy card to put together. These will go out to some homebound people in a church ministry that I'm making for one of my friends here in the neighborhood to send to her church folks that are no longer able to come out and about. Very sweet thing to do. I'm glad she's agreed to send some of my cards out. It's helpful to me to have some people that will come and send cards out for me. So I'm thinking that this one will maybe cover up this little group right here and perhaps just touch right there and tie these elements together. There we go. I like that. Let's, did I get the inside? I didn't get the inside. I want to do those because I'm going to take these to my friend tomorrow evening. There we go. Let's look at this next one and see what it's got. Oh, it's got some more gold on it as well. And this is the "O Come Let Us Adore Him." And just a little, I think this will fit just fine there. But I think if I'm not mistaken, I had that kind of plan to go that way. Let's go ahead and put our gold panel down. And again, I'm going to put a little extra glue on this. This gold panel is 5 1/4 by 4. And of course, these are A2 size cards. There we go. And so now, I want to look here and see. I can't remember exactly how we did that, but I think it's like this. And then perhaps I'll put this down. Maybe here, I think. Perhaps, yeah, that'll work. Okay, here we go. If I'd had a little more of this paper in those 4 or 6 pieces that I pulled, I would have probably matted some of these, but I just didn't have enough of it to do that. And I wanted to make these as simple as I possibly could. And here we go, and I'm going to leave the same border here and here, if I can. There we are. And then I'm going to bring this little guy in and kind of tie those other two together that way. This is just a good way to use some scraps that you might not really quite know what to do with. So here and here, and there we go. And then I think I will put this right up about there. And on this piece, I'm going to tie these 3 pieces together by touching them with this. Try to get my little figures straight. I am going to put a little gem right there in that star. Then we'll put the panel on the inside and call this card finished. It's helpful having these inside panels already stamped and ready to roll in. And there we go. Okay, let's look at the next one. This is kind of a fun way to do it because I can't remember what all I've got going on in here. Now this little gold pan was a little smaller. You'll see a larger white border around it, but it's one of the A2 size layers. I believe it's 3 3/4. Oh no, it's 3.5 by 4 3/4. Yep, that's right. I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. And then we've got some sentiments to put on the front. I see a little Cordelia hair hanging out there. Hang on a minute. Let me get that. Don't want to be sending that out with my card. Here we go. That gold paper is nice. I don't remember where I got that. I've had it for eons, but it's a really pretty piece. Now, let's see. I know that's going to ride in the front, in the middle. And then I'm going to put these here, maybe there. What's this? That's just, oh, yeah, I was going to have to, yeah, I remember now. I'm going to pull these all the way out. And then I need to have a couple of little pieces to put underneath the ends that stick out. That's why I had this little piece in there. So I've just doubled this over because this gold paper is thicker than this little white cardstock is, this little scrap piece that I've got. So I'm going to make a little double up on that. And I'll go ahead and glue this piece down. There we go. Oops, I got a little bit of glue on my gold paper. Fortunately, it's not shiny metallic, and I believe I'll be okay with that. Let's just see. Okay. So we're going to do Away in the Manger on top. And then I'll go ahead and slip this little piece of white right up under. See this little spot right here needs just a little bit of lift. There we go. Sometimes you feel like you're doing a little card surgery, don't you? There we have that one now. And we're going to do the same thing with this bottom piece. And you'll notice I'm not going to put glue on that end. I'll just put that on the white piece when I get it down that way. Away in the Manger is a song that we all learn as kids, don't we? I'm gonna have to get my little eraser out and erase on this a little bit later, since I got, whoops, I got some glue on there. Let me bend this over. Check and see if it's too long. It is a little too long. I'm gonna cut just a tiny bit of that off. There we go. Put some glue in it and fold it over and glue it on one side so that I can put it on this card, and then we'll get finished here in just one little second. There we are. And then I'll pull this up and put some glue right there, and we're done. There we go. Now this little one can go right in here. And I like that. Okay. It'll cover up that little glue oo-boo. And tie these little lower elements together just a little bit. And then I'm wondering about just putting some gold gems here in some little spots where they'll brighten it up just a tiny bit. And that card's finished, except for the inside panel. There, that's a pretty card. Let's see what this one looks like. I've got some lines here. So I think this one is going to be really simple, and it is the same layout that is a card that we did, the card format that we did recently on this channel. And I've gone ahead, let me show you right quick. I've gone ahead and scored here and here at the 1/2 inch and 1 inch mark on both sides. And then I'm just going to glue this down flat. You're going to recognize this card in a minute if you've watched my videos recently. Very easy card format, and it works every bit as well for Christmas cards as it did for whatever paper we were using that day. I can't remember. And then this one's going to go here, and I'm going to put a couple of little gold stars on this side, up at the top, I think, just for a little embellishment. This has foam on the back of it. There. May put a little gold gem inside those stars. And there we go. This one I think needs a little extra, well, give me a few minutes to think about that. We're going to glue this inside panel in. So let's see what this one looks like. This has a little spot on the inside, so I'm going to cover that with my inside panel and not worry about it and just move on along in making this card. And it'll be covered up and no one will ever know the wiser. There we go. So this is some sheet music that I printed on my printer, my computer printer, and then just cut it apart. Let's see where we're going with this. I think maybe, I'm trying to remember. Okay, here we go. Just slightly up from the very center of this card. Looks like I need to trim just a tiny bit off of that. And then I think I will put this piece down next. Oh, wait a minute. I think I'll put these down next. Hang on. These little gold strips go on the top and the bottom here. There's that one. And I might need just a little more glue on this one. I got it just a tiny bit close in there. There we go. And then here's this piece. And I'm just going to snuggle that right next to that piece of copy paper that I have cut there. And then I believe we'll put this piece down next. It wasn't quite long enough to go all the way to the top and the bottom. I'm not worrying about that. I'm going to put this piece all the way to the top and the bottom because I have it and we might as well use it. Make sure my script is right side up. And here we go. Then I can just put my Oh Holy Night right here. Nice flat card with a lot of dimension because there's lots of layers, but it still is a nice flat card. Same border on this side as there is over there, and I've got it lined up with the lines in my sheet music. And then I'm going to put a little something down here to tie it all together. And I notice that I have a little star here that I fixed. And I thought perhaps I would put it up there, but I want to see if it won't work right here. And I believe it will. And it'll finish that card out for us. May not be what I planned, but it's useful. It's there. And now this card is finished. So how about that? There we go. And this one, all I need to do is trim. Might put me a little gem right there. That might be all we need. Just as the suggestion of a little star, even though it is actually the center of a flower. There we are. Let's see, this one. Well, here's the story on this card. Saving the worst for last, I think. But at any rate, I tried to do a little ink blending and then a little stamping and yada yada yada, and I just couldn't get it to work. So I thought, well, I might have to throw that out. But then I decided, since I had a little bit of this gold paper left, that I would just fully cover that and I can use the card base. So that is what we're going to do and finish this very last card, and then I'm going to bring them all back out and show you this set of cards that I have made out of those 6 by 6 double-sided sheets of paper from Echo Park. So we're going to do this one next. I wonder, was I going to do the outside? Let's raise the bump on this side. We hadn't done that before in this set. I'm going to put plenty of glue on that because I don't want any of that ugly stuff to raise its head up from underneath. There we go. There we are. And I'm going to burnish that in well with my hands. And I think these stars were actually from something else. They just happened to end up in that package. So this is just a strip of that paper that I'm going to glue down. And there's going to be a tiny little strip on the right and left side, and I'm not worried about that at all. I'll put that in the middle of the card. And you'll see I have this little tiny strip. As long as it's even, it doesn't bother me in the slightest. Here we go. Little town of Bethlehem. So it'll go right there. And this one will go right here. So let me clean up my mess. After I get these glued down, you'll see I've already got my little star going there. Trying to leave a little bit of a border on both sides on these. That's pretty well finished. So let me clean this up. I'll bring all these cards back out and you can look at them again. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 cards in a nice set for me to give to my friend tomorrow night. And I hope you all have enjoyed these cards. And even if you don't have this particular set of paper, you can use some of these concepts in cards that you're going to make. Hope you have a great week, everyone, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.